Hey everyone, not sure how this really works on my computer, so I'm on here now and hoping that it works. So when some of you come on here, I guess then I will know if it's working. So um, let me see here. Okay, thank you. Can you hear me good? Okay, I'm on my computer now, so you know how Satan works. Definitely doesn't want this getting out. Um, okay, something just popped up. My frame rate is too low. Don't really know what that means, so I'm sorry if it's grainy and stuff. I'm trying my best to, make this whole computer situation work, and I just try to get back online, kind of as soon as I could, because I got to make this work. Um, okay. All right, well, I'm going to pray us back in again. So I know we got interrupted. I'm glad that you guys can all hear me clearly now. I just need to quit clicking stuff because stuff just keeps popping up. But I hope you guys can hear me clearly. And okay, so I'm gonna pray us in, really quickly, and then I'm just gonna get right back into it like I was. Hold on 1 second. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Okay, so Father God, I just pray that you just be with me again during this time when I'm here talking, Lord. I pray that you just give me the strength that these are your words and not my own, Lord. I pray that you just reveal to the people the truth of what's really going on and allow people to truly see what is actually going on and not just what they see and hear and want to believe, God, because we know that people are very cunning in their words and good with their words and are manipulative, and I just pray that you reveal and break through all of that, God, because I pray that people don't just believe what I say, but they take it into consideration and they ask you about it, God, and you reveal the truth to them and not just what I'm saying. And so I really hope that other people feel free to share this video at this point. I'm not backing down anymore. I'm not going to just hold my peace because I feel like I've done that long enough. And at this point, I feel like the Lord is telling me, okay, now it's time to talk. Yes, I do know that there's going to be backlash and there's going to be things said about me, but that's okay because honestly, my life is a very open book to people. I don't really lie to anybody about anything. When people ask me stuff, I tell them the truth. And so I don't have anything to hide. Whatever is being said about me, half of it's probably not true, but that's okay because I know that I'm a woman of integrity. And when people ask me things, I'm going to tell the truth. So I feel that the Lord is just asking me to speak the truth on these matters. And I know that there's a lot of people that are being misled, and it's not okay. And that's the real reason that I'm here, because the Lord had asked me to. And I know that God is asking me to do this, and I'm done with God's people being messed with. I am done letting other people lead others astray. It's not okay, and I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not allowing it to happen. So I'm saying my part. Whether people believe me or not, that's not up to me. It's not my job to convince anybody. But what my job is to do is to simply let people know, because now that I know the truth, it is my responsibility to let others know the truth. So I hope that, everybody can understand that. And yeah, so I guess what I'm going to start with is the fact that I'm with Dominic, or I was with him. We've been separated now, but I was with him, every day for months. And, he has this mark on his belly button. It's more, almost looks like a stretch mark or a cut open. Well, it turns out, that he's had surgery, but he has no markings on his body whatsoever that resemble gunshot wounds. Don't you think if you were shot twice, first of all, they would have to be literally within this amount, they would have, that's how close the gunshots would have to be if there was two of them, because he said he was shot twice. Remember that. Shot twice in the stomach. The marking that he has, I believe it was from some type of surgery, because I've heard through multiple family members now that he has had some type of surgery on his stomach. And even if you go back to one of his old Facebooks called Bakati, in June of 2019, he does talk about this surgery, and he talks about all the medical diagnoses that he's had, and he's tired of all of that. Yet, he talks about his nerve damage, that he got nerve damage from surgery. Let me clear that up for you. Yes, from surgery. He directly says that. If you go look up BACA, it's public, BACA space TEE. There is a lot of things on his old Facebook that you can clearly see that back in 2019, yes, he had a cane and a walker for a while, but he was making jokes that his kids were saying he was old and all this. Don't you think if you had been shot, your kids would not be joking about you being old and stuff? They would be more concerned about that. And I'm just saying, his stomach does not resemble gunshot wounds whatsoever at all. So that's the first thing that I would like somebody to ask him. If he starts to tell his story again, let's see your gunshot wounds, okay? Not only that, don't you guys think it's a little bit weird that he has no pictures whatsoever of him being in the hospital at that time? Yes, he has videos. By the way, the videos all say that he was in Rochester Hospital, okay? Let me get that clear. Rochester Hospital. And it just doesn't make any sense, you know? Don't you think that he would have... I mean, I know I've had my wrist broken, and actually, I don't know if you guys can really see, but the marking that I have on my wrist, it's really hard for you to see, especially in this light, but what he has... on his stomach almost looks like this from my wrist, the little mark that I have. That's what it looks like. And, you know, I find it very weird that he would not have any type of videos, that he would not have any type of pictures being in the hospital, any pictures of him recovering in the hospital. He might have pictures of when he had surgery possibly, but I want to see, okay, if you're really shot, let's see these medical records. Let's really see them. You know, where you said you were clinically dead for 3 minutes and 47 seconds. If you really have evidence of that, then there will be evidence out there to support that. That literally says that on a document from a hospital in Chicago. So I'd like to know, what hospital did you go to? When did this exactly happen? Let's see it. Let's see your gunshot wounds. And none of it makes sense. It doesn't make sense, and there's no evidence because it doesn't exist. That's why there's no evidence, because it never happened. I'm telling you, it never happened, because there is no marks on his body that resemble gunshot wounds at all whatsoever. Not only that, I also wanted to point out, let's see, that, you know, if you read his book or hear his testimony, he also talks about, okay, he was in front of the building. He got shot, right? He seen a green flash. Then he got shot again, right? Okay. He said that he instantly died. He said as soon as he fell back, like in real life, that's when he started falling forward, okay? So if that's really the case, then how did he wake up in the hospital and was only gone for 3 minutes and 47 seconds? How does that make sense? First of all, an ambulance needs to be called. Second of all, ambulance needs to come get him. Third of all, they need to get him in the room and then get him all these things. You think they can do that in 3 minutes and 47 seconds? It's very clear that that's not when he passed away. But in his story, that's what he claims. But that doesn't make any sense. That timeline does not add up whatsoever at all. The timeline does not add up. And I've thought about that a lot, like how it doesn't add up. And then I asked him about it one time, and he said, oh, well, I was dying in and out of the hospital and the room. Okay, well then why don't you tell that in your story? Why do you make it sound like you instantly passed away if that was really the case? Okay, third of all, I can't say who because they've asked me not to, but I've spoken to multiple family members of his, and he says this happened in Chicago. I can tell you for a fact, for one, during this time, he was not even in Chicago. During the time he says it's happened, I know multiple people in his family that have told me that he was not even in Chicago at all. He was in Minnesota. I would love to talk to his ex-wife because that's a whole nother story. But she would tell me the truth and she would know that this never happened. He was in Minnesota very much so during that time. And on top of that, okay, if you read his book, you know that this happened outside of, by the way, he has more than one family member that lives in this building that he was supposedly shot outside of, right? Multiple family members that live in that building. Even one of his child's mothers lives in that building. None of them ever knew about it. You're telling me that somebody who's lived there for 30 years and other people of his family that grew up there, not one person, this is a 16-story or 14-story building, by the way, so very big. You're telling me that he was killed outside of there and not one single person ever came to knock on their doors and tell them. Never. He never called them and told them that. Nothing. So how does that make any sense? Don't you think, let me tell you, if somebody in my family had passed away, I might not know right away if it was like a cousin or something like that. But if it happened outside my place, oh, you would definitely know. So you're telling me that nobody in his family knows about it. I mean, I know that some of his family is still supporting him, but I can tell you that they really don't believe it. And I'm not going to say names because I told them that I would not. And so I'm respecting that. But I'm just telling you, that is very weird, and that makes absolutely no sense. So here's the thing. Dominic, if you ever see this, or anybody who's going to go tell him, because I know people will, let's see the evidence. Let's see your shot marks, okay? Let's see a note from the doctor in the hospital that literally says that you were gone for 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Let's see pictures, not of your surgery, but of you in the hospital recovering and from these shotgun wounds. Don't you think it's a little weird that he wouldn't have any pictures of that? I'm sorry, but if even with my wrist being broken, I even have pictures of that. Like, to me, that just seems very bizarre if you were just shot. He never talks about it. His own family, lots of them don't, pretty much all of them don't believe his story at all. Some of them just don't want to cause problems because, to be honest, everybody's scared of him. And you know what? I was at first. I was scared of what he was going to do and you know what? I know I'm going to get backlash for this, and I wouldn't be surprised if he threatens to hurt me or kill me, because here's another thing. He has a criminal record. Yes, I have a criminal record myself, and I tell you that, but here's the thing is he never told me. If you go look up his name, not only on Minnesota free record lookups, you can look it up. It's called like MRCO or something like that. You can do a free record lookup. Dominic Jerome Morrow, his birthday is 5/7 of 79. You will literally see all of his stuff, and that's a whole nother story. But even in 2021, mind you, he wrote his books in 2016, okay, his Christian books. In 2021, he was charged twice with telling this woman he was going to massacre her whole family, and he punched her in the face. And then later on, she came to her, what happened? Later on, she came to his house one day. I don't know. Things happen when you're in a domestic abusive relationship. Sometimes you go back, whatever. This lady went back, and then he literally, held a gun up to her and was talking about the things that had happened in the past and the things that, that she did to get him in trouble and get him to go to jail and all this. And he held a gun up to her, and he can try to say that never happened. But if you go read the articles, because yes, there is articles in Mankato, I believe, but you can look up Dominic Morrow and domestic violence, and it will also tell you about all the times. And, he literally, if he did not hold a gun up to this woman, why did it say in the police report that there was a gun hidden in a bag of food in his freezer? Tell me that. Why would that article say that if that never happened, if he really didn't have a gun? And why would it be in a bag of food in his freezer? It's pretty clear to me that he was trying to hide it. Okay? Let's see. So, also, the friend that he claimed he was with was actually a family member of his. I just want to clear that up. The friend in the book, and he's told me this many times himself, that it was actually a family member. He wanted to protect that family member, so he never said the name of who this person was, all right? But he told me behind closed doors. That person has told me that he does not even believe his story is true. So he definitely was never with him, this person that he claims. And here's the thing. I know people, because I've heard it on the phone, that he has friends that will literally say that they were there. I've heard 2 of his friends literally say that they would be there and they would do it. Here's the thing. He was never, ever in Chicago at that time. So these people are obviously willing to lie, and these are also people that he's been studying the Egyptian Book of the Dead with, apparently, for years. So if that doesn't teach you something about him already, then I don't know. Also, there was a time recently, before we broke up, that he was trying to go see the movie Ouija. We were looking up movies. He supposedly really wanted to take me to a movie. We were having a good day. He literally wanted to watch the previews, and I was just kind of like, why would you want to watch that? I played it for like 5 seconds, and I was like, I'm not going to that movie. I want nothing to do with that. You know what he told me? He said, oh, I'm going to go see that movie. I'm going to go see that movie by myself if you don't want to come with me sometime. And I want to see the movie because I want to know that it shows at the end that you shouldn't be messing with this stuff, and I want to know things behind the other side, and I just like to have that type of knowledge. I'm sorry, but as a Christian, why would you ever go to that movie? Don't you think that he supposedly already knows enough about that if he knows so much about Santeria that he should already know? Why would you have to go to a movie like that to figure that type of stuff out? Don't you know that type of stuff can come, like, things can come onto you when you go to see things like that? It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Oh, there was something else that came up. Oh, I could just go and go for days, guys. I'm telling you, there's so many things, and I'm not even hitting the surface yet. Not even close. But that's the one thing I want to know. If his story is really real, then let's see the records. You know, he has a lot of people that are willing to lie for him, and he definitely has people who are really good with technology. As you probably know, he's got an IT guy who could do all this stuff. I wouldn't even be surprised if he made something up, but let me just say, if he was really in the hospital, he was really clinically dead for 3 minutes and 47 seconds, not only should there be gunshot wounds, but they would have to be right next to each other, which he had a surgery, so it makes sense why they're not, and he would definitely have some sort of record of that, right? So let's see it. Why doesn't somebody ask him about that? Because I'm very curious to know myself. And here's another thing. If anybody was on the very first men's Bible study that there ever was, that Dominic ever did, I was obviously not there because I'm not a man, but I have heard multiple times now that there was a man. This is why it was never posted, by the way. If anybody ever noticed, it was never, his first men's Bible study was never posted ever on YouTube. And it's no wonder why it was never posted, because some man came on there and literally was saying, Dominic, I've known you ever since I was a child. I know your whole family. I know your mother. When did you ever get shot? When were you ever shot? Because I never knew about that. And that's not the first person who's done that. I've seen people do it to him, even his aunties and things like that in private. But this person did it when he was having his men's Bible study. Why was that Bible study never posted? Because he didn't want people to know. And you know how he played it off? He played it off like, I don't know who this person is. They're crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. I don't know them. I'm sorry, but do you think somebody would come on there and say that if they were not 100% sure that it wasn't real? Like, why would somebody come on there and say, I know your whole family, I grew up with you in Chicago, look, when were you ever shot? Why would somebody do that? Okay, that doesn't make any sense at all in the world. Also, I'm seeing Missionary Lynn. If you look on the back of the toughest enemy you have in life is you, he says that he's a church of something of Bakati, like Eternal Hope Church of Bakati. When you look it up, I can't find anything for that church. You know, I talked to some members of his family, and I asked them, do you ever know of him being a pastor? No. Do you ever know of him going through any, I don't know how it works to get a minister degree or a certificate or whatever it's called, how that works, but what I can tell you is I don't think he was ever a pastor of his church. His family doesn't know about him ever going through any pastoral degrees. So that's another thing that I would really like to see. If he is a pastor, what church were you a pastor of? Where is it located? What's the name? Because on the back of his book, it says this church, but you look up this church of Bakati, which, by the way, Bakati is something that he created. It means born again child against the evil enemy, and that's what it stands for. But if you look that up, why would there be a church that's supposedly by Bakati, his own church? He's never started his own church. He's never told me about a church. And if he has a pastoral degree, then please, let's see it. I want to see it for real, because honestly, at this point, this man has told me so many lies that I can't believe a thing that comes out of this man's mouth. So if he really does, excuse me if I'm wrong, Lord, but I don't believe that he does. Maybe he does. This is something that I'm just speculating, but why would he lie about that on his book? He also said he worked at, like, the Lanou Association or something like that, ADA, Lanou Association. I did his resume. Also, none of his family ever knows about any of these work spots that he worked at. But I did his resume. Don't you think if I was working on his resume that if he was a researcher for this company and he was the head committee or something of ADA, Lanou. By the way, none of you have ever heard, he uses the word Lanou all the time. So I think it's just something that he created that doesn't even probably exist, because I tried to look it up and I couldn't find anything about it. But don't you think if I was working on his resume and these things were real, that I would be able to find something? And don't you think he would want to put that on there? Don't you think something like that is probably kind of important for a resume? Seems very weird. You know what I'm realizing is he doesn't want to ever work any jobs. I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to bring up the money right now. Yes, this is a very touchy subject because a lot of you people have donated, and I'm going to be honest because I have kind of been guilty of it myself by staying in hotels with him when it was ministry money. So you know what? I can admit that I shouldn't have been doing that with him, knowing that that's the money he was using. But let me explain something first. I had been the one working when I had met him, and I was taking care of him, and I was doing everything for him. This man convinced me to quit my job to work for him. And so I felt like, well, I'm not even getting a paycheck, and I should be getting paid for everything that I'm doing. So yes, I can admit that that was probably wrong on my end, but I'm owning up to that right now. That I have stayed in hotels with him, and that was wrong on my end. But honestly, it was like, if I told him no or didn't agree with something, it would just be a huge fight. And honestly, behind closed doors, he was sitting there screaming at me, calling me names, cussing me out, just horrible, degrading things to me that he was saying and doing to me behind closed doors. But anyway, my point in the money is I'm letting you know that I have seen it, because there's a lot of things that I did. I would mail out the t-shirts. I would do the book orders. I would answer emails. I did the prayer line number. I would set up all of his appointments. All of that stuff I did. And I would also thank all the people who donated on GoFundMe. So I would see, who donated, how much they donated, and all things like that. I can tell you firsthand that this man is smoking weed. Very much so. He is taking ministry money that people give him through the ministry, and he is spending it on cigarettes and on weed. I don't know if he's drinking again. Some of his family members believe that he is, because they say they know what he's like when he's drunk, and they could swear that he is drunk in some of his videos. But if you go back and look at his videos, you can definitely tell that he is high. And he is high in 90% of his videos. And to be honest, I was kind of like, for a while, well, I didn't really agree with it, but I was kind of like, well, your leg really hurts, so his leg really hurts all the time, and I'm like, he could be on other medications for his leg, but whatever. But then I come to realize that he was just doing it all the time. No, he wasn't going and hanging out with friends and doing it, but he was taking ministry money. That's my point through all of this. You claim to be a pastor. For one, you should not be doing that. But second of all, you're taking ministry money that people donated for a shelter, or not a shelter, for a building for you, or even if you weren't using it for a building, but you were using it to travel to go speak somewhere, or go out on the street and hand out bags to the homeless and things like that, then people can understand. But he's literally taking money that people are donating. I promise you, I actually have a bank statement of his, and you can see multiple times that he goes to Hark Liquor Store, which is right next to, tobacco store, which is right next to him, spending money on cigarettes all the time, spending money on cigarettes and weed. That's what he's spending a lot of the money on. I mean, yes, there's some hotel stays, because if anybody didn't know, we do not live together. So let me get that clear, and I am wrong for that. And I apologize, because on my end, I realized that I should have said something, and I tried to. I have tried to say things to him about it, but anytime it would just end in a fight, and he would say very abusive, mean things. At one point, he even threatened to have people come beat me up. Yes, this man did. He said, I don't lay my hands on women, but I'm going to have a bunch of girls come here and beat your ass and stuff like that. All types of stuff. So there's that. So I'm really sorry, you guys, to anybody who's donated. I truly feel bad about it, because I feel like I should have said stuff more to him. I just felt like I really couldn't. I felt like I really couldn't, I could never confront him about anything that I didn't like, or tell him anything, because he would tell me that I'm lacking faith, that I have no faith in God, that I just need to trust God. And anytime that I would bring any concern up to him, he would say it's a matter of faith, when it's not necessarily faith. Yes, there's some things that people are sad about or anxious about, that it does come down to faith, but God also gives us discernment, right? And I had discernment. For example, this building that he's supposedly getting, I'm not going to talk a lot of details about it, but I had concerns about it. Brought it up to him, never brought it up again, because he completely shut me down. And I know he shut multiple other people down who have brought up concerns about this building, and pretty much did the same thing, so that they're lacking faith, they don't have faith in God. And I'm sorry, but there's a difference between faith and discernment. God gives us discernment, and he speaks to us to not do, certain things, or to do certain things. And that's why I had the discernment to know that I wasn't supposed to talk even a few weeks ago, or a week or two ago. God just gave me permission last night to finally, I feel like, start fully exposing him. And I've never done a live in my life, so I really didn't know. And I was very nervous, but you know what? I'm not going to let him hurt God's children anymore. That is done. I'm done with that. I am not allowing it anymore. If people want to keep following him and doing what he says and believing him, that's okay. But I just pray that the Lord gives people discernment to really see what's going on. There is so many things that I could tell you. I mean, I don't believe his story is true until I literally see proof in my hand or can call and confirm with the hospital that he was supposedly in that this happened. I don't believe a word that man says out of his mouth. And I would not be surprised for 1 second, because he's so good with his words and he's so charismatic that people just want to believe him. That's why he's gotten away with what he's gotten away with for so long, because he's extremely manipulative. All right. I'm sorry, guys, but I could just go on and on. I have held so much in, so I thank you for the people who have been there for me and listen to me, because there's some people, some ladies on here, or just in general, that I have spoken to for literally like hours on the phone. Hours of their time they have spent with me and talked to me and encouraged me and prayed with me and loved on me. And that's the only reason that I feel like I'm okay, is because of these people. To be honest with you, I don't think that I would be okay right now if I didn't have the support of the people that I do, and everybody that's been there for me. I really don't think that I would be making it through this, and that's what also God gave me the courage first and foremost to share. But I was just like, I don't know if I should. I'm scared, but I know this is what God wants me to do. I wanted to bring this up in the beginning, actually, when I started and I prayed. But God literally specifically told me, even though I was reading in Lamentations and Psalms last night, he told me to go to Ephesians 4. Now, I know what Ephesians 6 is, but I don't know what Ephesians 4 is, and 5. Well, mostly he read me to 4, but then I started reading 5. And it talks about, in Ephesians 4:14, says, "We will not be influenced when people try to trick us with lies so clever they sound like the truth. Instead, we will speak the truth in love, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of his body and church." And then I also read in Ephesians 4:25, "So stop telling lies. Let us tell our neighbors the truth, for we are parts of the same body." And then Ephesians 5:11 through 14 says, "Take no part in worthless deeds of evil and darkness. Instead, expose them. It is shameful to talk about the things that ungodly people do in secret, but their evil intentions will be exposed when the light shines on them, for light makes everything visible." And so, to me, that was God telling me everything that I needed to know. He told me to flip to that verse, and I had been asking him for a while, like, am I supposed to do this? I feel like I don't want to intervene on what God's going to do. If God's going to do something, he's going to stop this, then I need to allow him to do it. But at the same time, I feel a sense of responsibility because I believed his story, and I was the first person to reach out to these channels to get him to tell his testimony, and I thought I was doing something. I really thought I was hearing from the Lord in doing this. And so it makes me feel a sense of responsibility. I feel like once you know the truth, now you have to expose the truth. You know what? I'm not perfect, and I do things. I'm sure he's going to say things about me, and some of them are probably true, but most of them are probably false. But you know what? Thing is that I know the truth now, and I have to tell people the real truth and the real person that he is, and he's not what he claims to be. And I just, while I'm on here, I'm going to talk about a few things that he's also lied about, just to give credibility to another reason. I'm sorry, I gotta stretch my legs because I'm bending them and I'm laying on my bed or sitting on my bed. And anyway, but here's to give more credibility as to why I started to question his story in the first place. Oh, this is what I was going to bring up earlier that I forgot about. Okay, so look this up if you want, if you don't believe me. If any of you have read his book, and in very few testimonies, I think he talks a little bit about Santeria, but he doesn't necessarily mention that he went to Cuba, right? Well, I confirmed with family members that, first of all, he never went to Cuba at all. And actually, if you look it up online, we were not allowed to go to Cuba in America from the 1962, I believe, yeah, I think it was 1962 until like 1999. You were not even allowed to travel there. So that whole thing about Cuba, made up. His whole story. By the way, I have spoken to family members. I'm not going to reveal the names. But they also told me his dad is not dead at all. His dad is not Cuban at all. His dad is very much so an African American man. So the whole thing about him going to Cuba and his family being involved in Santeria, none of that is true. At all. The only people involved are people that are not blood related to him, and they're not Cuban either. So, I guess I just wanted to let everybody know that his story about Cuba, I mean, if you look it up, you can literally look it up. I'm telling you, from 1962, I believe, till 1999, no Americans were allowed to go there. And even now, you will read online that it is still hard to go there. You have to be able to say that you're supporting the Cuban people and be able to prove it. Like, have receipts to say that you're over there to help them. And so, it just goes to show, there's a lot of reasons why I started to not believe his story. That was the one thing, if anything, because after I left him for the way he was treating me, guys. I'm just going to be honest. That's why I originally left, because I knew that he wasn't living it. He says that he's living it. He says all of this, but he still does. If you've never noticed, he says the same things over and over and over. These are all things that he hears from other people, and he's very good at parroting. Let me tell you, this man can literally, what I just said 5 minutes ago, give me the exact words of what I just said. I don't know about you guys. I can't remember what I just said 5 minutes ago. Yes, I might be able to remember what I talked about, but I can't know the exact wording. But he does. He's very good at that. So he takes parts of what other people say and puts them as his own. So, also, he claims that he has a criminal justice degree. I know that's a lie. I've had multiple people tell me that. He never finished college. So while he's out there claiming it, and he claims it, I'm pretty sure, on the back of one of his books too, if I remember right. I have a note written from him in 2022 claiming that he has his criminal justice degree. This man doesn't, and I'm only telling you guys this to give more credibility as to why I don't believe his story. He does not have a criminal justice degree. He never graduated college. So, if he says he does, then let's see it. Honestly, if he has no problem going on these platforms and telling his story and telling his testimony and writing a whole book, why would he all of a sudden have a problem proving it? That doesn't make no sense. If you're okay with going on all these platforms, you should be okay with being able to show people the proof. No problem. But he never got his criminal justice degree. That's all a lie. He never did. Never. He did go to college. I'm not saying that he didn't go to college. He never got his criminal justice degree like he claims. Also, he lied to me about the number of children he has. I'm not going to say too much on this because I don't want to hurt anybody. But yes, he did lie to me. And he also lied to me about how many kids' mothers he has and who some of his kids were with. He told me that some were with this, some were with it, and that wasn't true at all. Also, I've known Dominic for about 3 years, I think, but, we haven't been married that long, and I come to find out that the same year I married this man, he told me he was divorced for 8 years. I got married the same year he got divorced. Yep. And he was planning on marrying somebody a while before that. And he was still married while he was engaged to this woman. And I'm sure he probably never told her that he wasn't divorced yet. Yeah. He didn't get divorced till 8 months before me and him got married. So, that's crazy to me. Whether they were separated or not, is crazy. And somebody had asked him about that one time, and he still tried to lie to them. This is public records, people, by the way. This is public records. You can look it up and clearly see when he got divorced and all of that stuff. He lied to me about how he'd been divorced for 8 years. He had not been. He married me the same year he got divorced. So, that's just crazy to me. And then he lied to somebody that that he works very closely with, to say the least. And they were telling me, I guess they still believe his story and they still want to believe him and whatever. That's okay. Not everybody's going to believe me. And it is what it is. But he lied to them and tried to say that he wasn't married before. He tried to say he'd never been married and that I'm his first wife, and that's a complete lie. Not true at all. Also, he talks about how he was dirt poor and how he has to constantly care for his brothers and sisters growing up because his mom was, addicted to drugs and now she's been clean for 25 years. That I don't know if that part's true or not about her. I have no idea. I'm not going to talk bad about his mom, but what I am going to say is that it's been confirmed by family members that he did not grow up dirt poor like he makes it sound. If his mother was not there, his grandmother was there. So he did not grow up dirt poor, providing for his family, always being alone, all of that, yada, yada, yada. That's not true. I mean, not true at all. Let's see. I think I went over most of this. And just little lies here and there. I mean, he lied to me about one of his exes and how he met her, and I've come to find out through other people he also lied about how he met them and what kind of career this person had. I mean, just all types of crazy stuff that it's like, why are you even lying about this? It just doesn't make any sense. He also has told people, so if anybody doesn't know, we met in Teen Challenge, the treatment, and we both are graduates from that program. And it's a year-long program, but me and him met there, but he tried to tell me and other people that he was not forced to go there. But I found out later on, if you look up on public records, it directly says he was forced to go there. He had to go there due to probationary things. And he had lied to me, He told me he's on probation for a DWI. That's another thing, which he does have a DWI, but that's not why he's on probation. The reason he's on probation is due to his domestic violence records, which, of course, he never really told me about and would lie to me and all types of things and, try to say that it never happened. But like I said, why would a gun be in a bag of food in your freezer if you had nothing to hide? I mean, and you really weren't holding a gun up to her. Why would you be trying to hide it? It just doesn't make any sense. And then he's also told me, by the way, when he's going to these other states and he's traveling, he is very much so on probation. He tried to tell me, oh, his PO is totally cool with this. She doesn't have any problem, with him doing this. Oh, she very much does. I'm telling you, because I know when he moved to Chicago for a while, he told me, oh, she didn't care at all. Oh, yes, she did. I'm not going to say too much about that because that's not my story to tell, but I'm just telling you that she definitely does care. So he's not even supposed to be traveling out of the state, I'm pretty sure. And I guarantee you he's not letting his PO know because I don't think she would be okay with it at all. He's not supposed to be going out of state, period, at all. Ooh, I'm so thirsty. Okay. Also, another thing that I just wanted to... It's Friday night. Selena. He's supposed to be on that show tonight. I just got a notification on my phone. That's why I'm laughing. I'm sorry, guys, because I'm just like, oh, Lord. I made some comments on some YouTube videos, so if any of you feel like you want to say anything, I said something on Selena's, a few of hers. I said stuff on Randy K's. I said stuff on Touching the Afterlife, on, Fire in the Cloud Ministries. That's the guy, Sergey, if anybody remembers Truth and Freedom Network or something like that. I've commented on some of those videos, and YouTube is very, very, very touchy about what you can say. Because I know it's not people deleting them, because I'll post something and 2 seconds later I go back and look. If it thinks it's any type of spam or anything about like your social media and stuff, it deletes it. So it's been really hard to try to convince people, because all I really say is, hey, his story is simply not true. I'm glad that the Lord is still using his story to reach lives, but it's all built on lies, and I just pray that God reveals the truth. So I think the more people that say something, the more it's going to be exposed. And I feel like as Christians, that's what we're called to do and what we're supposed to do. For a long time, I just kind of wanted to stay out of it and let God do what he's going to do. But, at this point, I feel like he's calling me to say something. I don't know how other people feel. Some people want to stay out of it. Some people don't want him to know or be a part of it. But if anybody feels led, feel free to do it, because I'm telling you, the more people that get together, the better it's going to be, because one person actually pinned my comment that I said today on their post, and I think it's because 2 other people commented on that same post and said something under mine confirming what I said, and he actually ended up pinning what I said. It's the About Freedom show. That's what it is. It's About Freedom show. He actually ended up pinning my comment, so it shows that when more people say something, it gets more people believing. But I don't want to pressure anybody if people don't feel led to do that. But I'm just saying, the more that people tell the truth, the more things are going to happen. And I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff, I don't have proof of, but that's the thing. There is no proof. How do you prove something that never happened? There is no proof because it never happened. It's not true. I mean, just like his degree, just like him being dead, just like, you know, him being a pastor, all these things. I mean, maybe he's a pastor. That's one thing. I guess I don't know 100%, but I'm strongly suggesting that he's not even a pastor at all. And also, he would always say, you know, all glory to God, all glory to God. But I'm telling you, behind closed doors, this is something I also want to bring up. He would always tell me, you don't know, I'm sorry for the language, but this is literally word for word what he would say to me. You don't even know who the fuck I am. You don't even know who the fuck you're messing with. I'm telling you, when I take you to fucking Chicago, you're gonna see everybody knows who the fuck I am. Like, you don't know who the fuck you messing with. And all types of stuff like that. And that's the kind of arrogance that he really has, guys. Like, I'm just telling you, behind closed doors, you know, to everybody else, all glory to God and praise the Lord. That's why I couldn't do it anymore. Not only was he treating me so badly and name calling me and cussing me out on a daily basis all the time for everything that I did, and I'm going to get to that, but he also was just so arrogant and just horrible and like full of himself, and just thought that he literally told me one time that he wouldn't even go to therapy because he said, every time I go to therapy or every time that I've done this, I end up knowing more than the counselor and I end up teaching them things, and why should I go somewhere and pay somebody when I end up teaching them things? He thinks, he might not say it or portray that on social media, but he literally thinks that he knows everything. Like, he's the smartest person. Don't get me wrong, he really is one of the smartest people that I've ever met in my life. I'm not going to deny that for a second. He is very smart and he's very articulate. But but to have that much pride and ego, to think that you can't learn something new or you can't go to counseling or all these things, is just crazy to me. And he is very arrogant behind closed doors. He thinks that he knows everything, and he thinks he's just but here's the other part. He's the most insecure person that I've ever been with in my life. I am telling you, literally, every day, I can show so many text messages that he would accuse me and constantly in person of cheating on him. All the time. Guys, I was not allowed to have one man, not even one man, on my Facebook. Unless they were my brother or my uncle, I was literally not allowed to have one man on my Facebook. It didn't matter if they were a pastor. It didn't matter if it was Randy Kay or Richard Lorenzo or Michael Ray Garvin or all these pastors. I was not allowed to have them. I'm telling you, I got in so many arguments with him. That's why when I first started doing Bible studies, I literally deleted my Facebook for months, because I thought it would be easier to delete my Facebook than to keep going through this with him, because he would constantly accuse me of cheating on him. I never once cheated on the man, but I was not allowed to have any contact with any men unless it was like through the ministry phone. And even then, there was times where he would accuse me of literally cheating on men who were calling the ministry phone, you know? And I know that he says that I was a prostitute and he saved me off the street and all this. Well, I can tell you what, I very much so, he was living in a homeless shelter when I not met him, but when I started talking to him again. He was living in a homeless shelter, and guess who was working full time? Guess who was taking care of him and providing all the things that he needed? So you're going to tell me that you saved me off the street from prostitution when I very much so had my own place that I was living, separated from you, and I had a job in a vehicle. So how are you going to tell people that? That doesn't make any sense. But I'm telling you, I've dealt with lots of insecure men. I have never in my life met somebody who accused me of cheating as much as this man did. And I would just, at one point, well, this is right after we got married too, he literally suggested to me, this is like a few days after he told me he's going to have a bunch of girls come beat me up. He literally, he said, you know what? since you want to talk to other men, let's just have an open marriage. Let's just have an open marriage because you're already obviously talking to other men. And then he was mad at me that whole night because I was crying, because I was devastated. I said, I just married this man, and this is the type of stuff that you're doing to me, because honestly, before that, he was not really doing that. It was completely different. But shortly after we got married, that's when things started happening. And then it got better for a while because I actually left him for a couple of days and stopped talking to him. It got better for a while, but then it went right back to the same stuff. But yeah, he was constantly accusing me of cheating, guys. But the whole time, he would always bring it back to scripture. That's one thing he always did to me, too. He would use the scripture to manipulate me. He would say, you know, it says in the word that women aren't supposed to talk in church. If they have a question, that they need to ask their husband, and their husband should be the one answering it for them. And, you know, they shouldn't ever talk to a pastor one-on-one. They shouldn't talk to any men. They should only talk to their husband. He wanted to be my God. He wanted to be my everything and everything that I went to. And so, you know what, I deleted all the men I had, because honestly, I was like, I don't really care. I don't talk to these men. It is what it is. It's not worth arguing. He would manipulate me by the word, and I knew it wasn't right, you know, but it was his way of justifying his insecurity, to try to blame it on scripture and say that she should only ever talk to her husband about things and never any other man. And I agree, you shouldn't talk to other people of the opposite sex about your relationship issues, but it would be like, even if I wasn't even talking to them, I wasn't allowed to have them on my Facebook. Even if I was just following them, I wasn't allowed to follow them. I wasn't allowed to, even on my TikTok. He got mad at me for people who are following me. I have no control over the people who choose to follow me on TikTok, and he got mad at me for that. But, you know, the whole time he had been talking to many females, and he would be like, well, if they're married, they should only talk to their husband. Well, if that's something you believe in, then you shouldn't be talking to married women. But, of course, he would always say, well, the men are meant to be the pastors. The men are meant to always be the ones to preach to people. I'm preaching to them, so it's different. That's why it's okay for me, because I'm a man, and God says men can teach. And yeah, it does say men can teach, but the word does not say that a woman should not talk to any other man. That is not normal. That is not okay. And I knew that, but I was just like, wanted to make things work, thought maybe he would change. And honestly, I didn't want to keep going through these fights with him, so I was just kind of like, whatever, I don't talk to these men anyway, whatever. But that's honestly why I didn't have a Facebook for a long time, because I just thought it was easier to just not have one, so I didn't have to fight with him and deal with all these insecurities. But I'm telling you, I have never met a man as insecure as he was, and accusing me of cheating so much. And I honestly think he was doing it because he was probably the one cheating. It's no wonder that he went to see somebody in New York already. I mean, to me, that's kind of a huge red flag for somebody who claims to be a pastor. If you're flying all the way to New York for whatever it was for, but to stay at her house and be right next to her on the couch and things like that. I mean, if you're really a man that's following God, and you're still legally married, very much so. We're still very married. Yes, I plan to divorce him, but I just haven't yet. And so we're still very much married. So for him to already be doing that, to me, is kind of a huge red flag for somebody who claims to be a pastor. You definitely shouldn't be staying at some woman's house that you hardly know. I know that she runs the women's Bible study, and I have nothing against her, but I'm just saying, I don't know if she knows the truth about what really happened, because let's be honest, Dominic lies about everything. So I guarantee you, he probably told her that we were divorced, that we're no longer together, but he is still very much a married man, and very insecure at that. I mean, he purposely ruined Mother's Day for me. I don't really want to say this, but I'm going to anyway. Because I know he's going to anyway, probably, to bash me if I don't. But yes, I lost custody of my children. I told you guys I was an adult and teen challenge before, so I don't have custody of my children. I'm currently working on getting my custody back of my kids. And yes, I still see them, and I still call them, and I love my kids more than anything in the world. But Mother's Day was a hard day for me, because I'm not really getting along with the people that are taking care of my children right now, okay? So Mother's Day is already a very hard day for me. And, I'm sorry, guys. But it's bringing back. Mother's Day was a very hard day for me already, you know, because of everything that I'm already going through, with my family and my children, you know, and, I didn't get to see my kids, and I didn't even get to talk to them, so I just told him, you know, like, I just want to rest today, I just want to relax. And of course, that day, then he wants to start on with you're cheating on me and I know it, and you're just a bust down and a fucking whore and a bitch and a slut, and just naming all these things to me, texting me. I woke up from my nap like, what the heck is going on? And he had me blocked. He blocked my number and blocked all this contact from me, and it was just crazy because I'm just like, look, I don't know what's going on or why you're saying this, but then he started to tell me, oh, I just had people drive by and I know that you're not even at home, and just all this stuff, and it was just crazy. And I feel like he purposely did that, like, to either get me to come see him or because he wanted to ruin a holiday for me, he didn't want me to enjoy it. It was like, Mother's Day was already ruined for me, like, I'm already going through it enough, with my children and stuff, and as you can see, that's a very sore subject for me, but I'm just gonna say it because I'm sure he's gonna talk about how much of a bad mother and all this that he wants to say, and that's fine. I'm not the perfect mother, but I'm not gonna pretend to be, That was already a hard day for me, so I just felt like he purposely did that to just tear me down and beat me down more. And then he was telling me that people, and he'd been saying this throughout the relationship, that people were messaging him, saying that I was cheating on him and that they have proof of me doing this. And I knew it wasn't true because it never happened. So I said, oh, if that's really true, then have them send you the proof of it because it never happened, And then I just ignored him most of the day because I was like, you know what? If he wants to act like this, that's on him, but I'm not gonna feed into this or whatever. But you know what, I'm coming to find out that I highly doubt that people even message him saying that. I really don't, because why isn't any other relationship I've ever been in had these problems, unless somebody really doesn't like him and wants to tear us apart or something. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. It never happened. I know it never happened. And so I really don't believe that people were ever messaging him these things. I think that he was just, saying it to hurt me and to make me try to admit to something that never happened, And I was just like, I'm not going to keep going through this with you. I just ignored him. But I know that I feel like he purposely did that on Mother's Day for me because he knew it was already a hard day for me. And I really at this point wasn't coming to see him much, honestly, because I was so tired of every time I would go to see him that we would just fight. We would always just fight and argue, and he would just make me feel like the lowest person, he would just make me feel, like I was just like this little, and I never knew what to do, when we would fight. I would just try to be like, I'm not cheating on you, or I didn't do this, and just trying to convince him, and then he would say all types of abusive things to me and hurtful things, and, so I just kind of stopped wanting to go there and visit him, period, because of this. So I really wasn't seeing him, so I think part of that was a way to try to manipulate me to go see him, and I just didn't want to, because, like, what's the point? Every time I go see you, my energy is completely drained. I have nothing left, and I know people have commented to me before that seeing me in videos that I just looked so down and depressed, and it's probably because in a lot of those videos, he just got done cussing me out sometimes for like hours and yelling at me and screaming at me and accusing me of things, that I wasn't even doing. And I need to get some more water. Jeez. I guess talking this much is making me really thirsty. I don't know, but my throat is dry. Also, I started to dread going to see him. Part of that was because I also answered the ministry phone a lot of the time. I had one phone, and he'd always tell people, I will always call you back. It might take a while, but we always get back to you. And I'd be like, yeah, because I know I always got back to people on the phone. I always call people back. I would have a list sometimes like 2 or 3 pages long of people I needed to call back. But you best believe that I always called them back, and I left a text message or a voicemail if I didn't get a hold of them. And I would try, but it was like every time I was with him and the phone would ring, I would seriously dread answering it. Not because I didn't want to talk to these people or to help them, but it was because It was because every time I would be on the phone with somebody and trying to pray with them or listen to what they have to say, it would be like 2-3 minutes in, he'd be like, you need to cut it off. You need to cut this conversation. Tell him you gotta go. You gotta go. We got things to do. You gotta go. Cut it off. Cut it off. He literally would get mad at me, guys. Literally mad. Furious with me and say, this is ridiculous. This is fucking, I'm sorry, this is what he would say. This is fucking ridiculous. You just don't know when to hang up and you need to be done. I'm like, honestly, that's not how God works. I understand there's boundaries and you can't just always talk to people for hours and hours and hours, and I get that. But I'm like, these people, I'm here to pray with them and talk to them, and it was just like, I couldn't even do that. I felt like I could not do that. I knew I couldn't do that around him, and it made me feel so bad because I felt like some of these people might not even know the Lord. And this is the first time that they're ever trying to come to the Lord, and here I can't even really pray with them or listen to what they have to say. And then there'd be times, a lot of times people wouldn't want prayer, they would want to talk to Dominic personally. So for a while I was setting up appointments, and it made me feel so bad because I would set up appointments, and honestly probably about 85% of the time or more he wouldn't actually show up to these appointments at all. And, then sometimes I would try to call and reschedule, and it was like, sometimes I would, and then he still wouldn't show up, but it made me feel so bad because I'm like, here I am. This is a lack of my integrity now, too, because here I am setting up these appointments that he's supposed to come to, and he's not showing up for these people. And some of these people really need to talk to somebody or talk to him, and he wouldn't show up. And I would feel bad. So eventually we started not doing appointments, and I literally would say, I'll write your number down, and when he has a chance, he will try to call you back. You see how I put try in there? Because I felt bad, because I always felt like, like I need to tell them try, because I still felt like I was lying, and I kind of was, because honestly, there's a high percentage that he'll never call these people back, that they'll never receive a call from him. But that's what I don't understand. Why do you keep giving your number out to people knowing that you have no intention of calling them back? Honestly, I think it's just for him to look good. He wanted to look good, and that's another reason he would bring me onto videos. That was the only reason. He said, you don't understand how much I put you in the public light, and I want people to see and know who you are. And no, you want to do that to make yourself look good. Just like the phone number. Giving out the phone number was a way for him to look good. So he appeared to be good, but he also wanted people to contact him because he wanted to get as many people that would work for him and do the things that he didn't feel like doing or didn't want to do or needed help with for free. And, he just wanted to use people, basically. If it wasn't about how he had helped them or what they want to do for him, if they want to do a video of him or they want to donate or something like that, he didn't want to talk to them. Like, there were so many times where people wanted to reach out to him, and they even had a word from God himself for Dominic, and he would not even give them the time of day. I'm telling you, whenever his phone would go off, he would get so irritated and so mad every time. Every time his phone would go off, he would get irritated and he would get angry, and he would tell me, these people need to rely on God. Why are they relying so much on me? They need to rely on God, God, not me. And I'm thinking, well, why did you give your number out? But of course, I couldn't bring anything to this man. I come to realize that anything that I brought up would turn into a whole argument, and I just didn't feel like doing it. So I would just kind of, be like, whatever, whatever. But he would get super angry, anytime people would call, and it was just like, that's so upsetting, because here you are supposed to be a man of God, and I understand you can't always take phone calls, and sometimes it's stressful, but that's why you take time out for yourself and, do things. But I'm telling you, like, he would be irritable, and I know people noticed. I know when he did answer the phone, for a lot of these people, when he did answer the phone, he'd be like, yep, yeah, I know what you're saying, yep. And just, you could tell he was rushing them off the phone. He would always cut them short. He would barely give them any time. And, you could tell that he wanted to get off the phone, that he was rushing them off of the phone. He really was, like, rushing people. And it was just insane. I'm like, why are you doing that, But I felt like I couldn't bring some of these things I have brought up to him, but then it just caused a huge argument. So then I'd just be like, you know what? I'm not even going to go there. with him. But yeah, there was times too, and I'm not going to say any names or anything, but there was times where people would literally call him and they would be like in the hospital. Sorry, I had to do that. In the hospital and stuff, and he would be like, talk to them for a few minutes, and then he'd be like, oh, I'm traveling, or something like that, right? And then, he'd be like, call me back at this time. That time would come, and I literally seen it with a person who had cancer who was in the hospital one day. He said, call me back at this time. When that time came, he didn't answer them. And he's done that. I've seen him do that several different times. And I'm like, if you tell somebody to call you back at a certain time, and then you say, oh, well, I'll get back to him tomorrow, I guarantee you he probably never got back to that person. And how hurt they probably are that they're literally in the hospital, already feeling alone. And here he is. And it's just insanity. I mean, I understand, like I said, that people are really busy and stuff, but let's be honest with you, he was not that busy like he claimed to be. Like, he really wasn't, because when you think about it, I'm not going to name names, but so many people were doing everything for him. He never wrote his Bible studies out in advance. If you didn't notice, a lot of times he didn't even use the Bible. So he really didn't write those out in advance. So it was like, what were you so busy doing? I don't know about the ambassador program. I don't know if he ever wrote the notes or somebody else did. I have no idea. But besides that, and maybe writing what some of these things would be, I'm like, what are you really so busy doing? Because you don't ever answer the phone when other people call. You don't make their appointments. But he sure had time to call me 1,000,000 times a day. I can tell you that. And I had to call him a lot because, I was working for him. And so I had to call him with a lot of things, and sometimes when I would log in on things, I needed the confirmation from his phone and things like that, but I'm like, he sure had the time of day to be able to talk to me and constantly see what I was up to, and, this man convinced me to quit my job, too. For those of you, I'm going to bring that up, and I didn't even plan on bringing that up, but this man literally convinced me to quit my job, and that I would work for him, but let me tell you that he didn't give me any money to live off of at all. Like, anytime I would ask for money, even to ship out the books, guys, I'm telling you, to ship out the books even, he would be irritated with me. I'm telling you, straight up irritated, and trying to be like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense why it would be that much. No, the books are the same price, and I can literally show you the receipt of them and my bank account to show that that's what I'm spending it on. But he literally would barely give me any money for anything. I needed an oil change. Thank God that somebody in the body of Christ sent me money recently to get an oil change, and my car, probably my engine would have blown up in the next couple of days, because that's how low on oil I was. And I kept telling him I needed an oil change. I need an oil change. I need an oil change. I need an oil change. Of course, he wouldn't give me money for that, or barely money for what I needed. But yet I would see him in that same day, because he would typically buy his green off of Cash App. I would see him that same exact day go spend $50 or $75 on marijuana and go buy a pack of cigarettes. But I'm like, you can't even give me money for the stuff that I need. And you literally told me to quit my job. And honestly, I really hesitated for a while, but I did it. And I was supposed to be working for him. And he didn't give me stuff I needed. Let me tell you, when I left him, I had worked, for months for him without getting anything. And then anytime I would bring any type of money up that I needed for anything, and it wasn't to do anything fun, it was for stuff that I need, mind you guys, for my bills, my rent, my car insurance, my gas, things like that, he would become so irritated, and then he would try to tell me, oh, so you're really not doing this for God, so this is about money for you, this is about money. No, it's not about money, but I definitely need money to live and survive. But I felt like I couldn't even ask him for anything. So when we broke up, of course, he's been telling people I'm funneling money and all these things. Like, if I was funneling money, don't you think I would have had some money when I broke up with him? I had nothing. I'm telling you, thank God for the people who have helped me until I got a job. And even while I've been working, have been helping me, because he left me. I left him. I'm sure he's telling people that he left me, just like he told people that everybody who left the ministry that he had to leave them behind, which is not true at all, by the way, guys. Everybody that has left him. But, I left him, and of course, he didn't give me a thing. I went and returned everything of his that I had at my house, his books, the ministry phone, his printer that he just bought, I gave him a phone to use for the ministry. I gave it to him, and, you know, I feel like if you gift somebody something, then that should be something that you just give them, right? I'm not going to be petty and try to get that back, but he never gave me back my TV or the MacBook that I borrowed him. I borrowed it to him. I told him, until you have these things or the money to buy them, since I have extra, you know, I have a TV in my room and I have this computer, obviously, you can borrow these, you know? Never gave me back my things. Not at all. Didn't even try to, nothing. Didn't bring it up. I feel like he thinks that I owe him in some way, shape, or form, but if anything, he should be paying me for all the work that I did for him. I mean, I sent out all the books, and if anybody who's gotten books, you can see that I literally had handwritten all of the things that I went to. Now we finally got a printer system, and I never did that, but I wrote all the books by hand. I sent out all the t-shirts. I did all the orders. I did all the emails. I answered a lot of the phone calls. I set up all his appointments, all his podcasts and stuff like that. Like, I was in charge of all that stuff. And of course, I never got a penny from this man, you know, after I had left. And I'm like, okay, like, that's kind of shallow. I brought it up to him before, a couple of days before I left and stuff. And, you know, he was basically telling me, oh, I've been talking to my attorney, and she told me to always pay for things on my card, and I want to see these forms and write all the documentation down of what the work you've done and all of this. But it was like, you know what, I'm not even going to do all that. Like, if you're not going to pay me, then you're not going to pay me, and that's fine, because at the end of the day, God has the vengeance. But I just feel that I need to tell everybody the truth. I know that I'm saying a lot and giving you guys a lot of information, but let it be known that this is stuff that I've held in for months and not talked about, really, besides very few people that I've talked to. And yeah, I just want to let you guys know too, and I'm not going to say too much, but like I said, Dominic said that he had to leave everybody else behind. No, 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 no. I can tell you that lots of people can verify that they very much so left his ministry. And they all made that choice on their own. I didn't influence them. I never talked to them about leaving. They decided this on their very own. They decided because we had a staff meeting one day, and somebody asked a very simple question about where they thought the ministry was going, and Dominic completely blew up. He tried to say that people were gossiping about him, which was simply not true. Nobody had any idea what he was even talking about. Like, to be completely honest, none of us knew what he was talking about. We even asked him, somebody had asked him, what are you talking about? Don't you think that, you know, we should know kind of what you're talking about? And he didn't give an answer. And the truth is he was just imagining things that never happened. If anything, people had been praying for him and praying for him, but nobody was ever talking about him. And he blew up. I mean, he was so mean. And then at the very end of it, he had literally the audacity to say, I'm not sorry. I didn't do anything wrong. See, people can make mistakes and people can blow up. I'd be lying to say, even as a Christian, if I haven't, you know, yelled at people and said things that I shouldn't have said. We all have. But the fact when you can't admit that you've done something wrong or take any accountability for it, that's something you can't work with. And that's the thing. I pray that God saves this man. I truly do. Because I don't know if you've ever noticed, but you asked him about how he got saved, and he never has an answer for it. And the truth is, most of you have had a come to God moment where you know that you got saved. He cannot even talk about he can't even talk about the real way he was saved, and that's because I don't believe that he truly is. So I pray that, you know, the Lord can change his heart. But that's the thing, the Lord can only work on somebody if they're willing, if their heart is willing to allow God to work on it. That's the only way that he can. And Dominic has so much pride and so much ego and cannot admit that he's wrong, that how can God work with that? I mean, I've read multiple scriptures, and God's not going to allow this to continue. Whether it was me saying it or other people or just God exposing it, it had to come out, and it was going to come out. You know, no matter who said it, it was going to come out, and God is going to continue to expose. I honestly put this video as public, even though my profile's not, so people who aren't friends with me can view this and can share it and tell people, because honestly, I'm not talking bad about him. I'm simply telling the truth of what really happened and what he really put me through and what he really put people in the ministry through and how he is leading people to the wrong direction. He says that he's living it and he's doing this and he's doing that, and he's not. I can tell you he's not. He's smoking weed. He's spending money in ways that he shouldn't. He's very verbally abusive. He cussed me out all the time. I mean, just think of it this way, guys. The people who were on this staff meeting, if he was able to talk to you guys that way, oh, just believe the way that he talks to people when it's not on a public platform and there's not multiple people on there. You can only imagine, not just me, but even his own children, his own mother, his own sister, his own cousins, like all these people, the way that he talks to them, you can only imagine how bad it really is. Let's see. I think I did like a lot of stuff. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, also, I've come to realize, too, that this is just another thing, too, is that, like, he would tell me that I was not allowed to talk to anybody about our relationship at all. And I agree, like, if it comes to another man or something, I agree that I definitely shouldn't be talking to another man about it. But it was like, I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. But now I'm realizing it's because he didn't want people to tell me the truth, that it's not normal to not be able to have one single man on your Facebook. I understand if it's somebody I have a past with, but not even, like, men of Christ, not even men of God and Christians and people like that, you know? And, yeah, I wasn't allowed to, and, you know, anytime he didn't like something I did, he would take his ring off, and he would, you know, I came to find out that he's told lots of people that he planned to divorce me, so it shows me that he never took the marriage seriously. I did. When I married this man, that's why I supported him, and wanted him to share his story, because I honestly truly believed that it was real. I really did. You know, I never really thought about the gunshot wounds. I thought, you know, like I said, the little mark that kind of looks like this on his stomach, maybe, you know, he said that he had surgery after he got shot. Maybe that's what it's from, and that's why it doesn't look like bullet marks and stuff. But I'm coming to realize that, you know, that's just simply not true. Yeah. But after we got married, he completely changed into a completely different person. I feel like he thought that, because all these things he was not doing before we were married, it was like literally very shortly after we got married, within like days or like weeks. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, this is not the man that I married. But then I couldn't go on any longer, guys. I could not sit there in front of everybody on YouTube knowing that everything this man is saying is not true and it's fake and it's false, and sit here and be okay with it. And that means that I'm in on it kind of too, and I'm guilty of it if I sit there. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Not only is he treating me so badly, constantly accusing me of cheating, constantly fighting with me, draining all my energy, treating me like absolute garbage, but he's also lying about everything. Everything this man lies about, and he's good at it. He's so good at lying. I don't even know if he knows what the real truth is, to be completely honest with you guys. Like, I don't know if he lies because he literally thinks it's the truth or what, but he is so good at lying. That's why so many people can just believe what he says. I mean, there's so many stories that, there's so many stories that he told me about, like Cuba, even behind closed doors, and stories like this and that, and things that he said about other people that, you know, I've come to find out that they're not even true. Like, just little things that he's lied, and I'm just like, why do you feel the need to lie about that? It just doesn't make sense. Like, why are you lying about it? I just don't get it. And, you know, there was one day that I told him, you know what, this ministry is gonna fall apart without me. And I never thought that I would go on a public platform or my Facebook and share all this. I never ever thought that I would do that. But, you know, he was like, you want to go to fucking war? Let's go to fucking war. Oh, you want to go? Let's go. And he was literally like, guys, I'm telling you, when I say literally like this close to my face, he was like that close to my face, screaming at me, full blown. I literally thought he was going to lay his hands on me that day. I really did. I truly believe the only reason he never laid his hands on me is because he knew that you know, if I came on a video and I had any markings on me, that people would say something, and probably everybody's prayers, but I swear to you that that is the only reason. I guarantee you that he never laid his hands on me, because he didn't. He never laid his hands on me. That's one thing I can say. But we all know that he, you know, he tried to kill his ex-wife like multiple different times. Multiple times, you know, and I never knew that when I married him. And I knew he had domestics in the past, but this was like 20 years ago. So I thought, okay, you know, this man probably has changed. I truly believe that he had changed from that, but come to find out, this man has not changed one bit. He is still very much a full-blown narcissist, to be completely honest with you. He's good at fooling people. He's full of himself, and he does not love God. And I'm so sorry to tell that to people who might not believe what I'm saying, but I can tell you that he does not love God. A person who has went to hell and really had this experience, that's another thing on top of all this that I've given you with evidence. How could you come back and treat people so abusively and be so mean to them and beat on them and emotionally abuse them and walk all over people and use people's money? Look, he has no fear of God in him at all. No fear of the Lord at all, because if he did, he would not be doing the things that he is doing. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm perfect, because there's a lot of things as a Christian that I have even done, you know, and I could go on, things that I'm not proud of. But I definitely know that I would never, ever lie on God the way that he has been. Not ever. And I would not treat people, especially people who have been doing things for free, you know, for him and helping him in the ministry, and if nothing but help him, and he wants to treat them poorly, is really sad to me. He doesn't care about people. All he wants to do is use people for what they can benefit him, or how they can make his appearance look, how good they can make him look, and what he can get for them. He really does not care about people at all. And I can tell you, you know, he doesn't even care about his own family. Or, you know, he had the audacity to go on Selena's show, a few weeks ago and talk about fatherhood. And if you go watch that, first of all, I can tell you that that's probably why most of his children haven't even been involved in what he's doing, all his boys, because they want no part of it, probably. And he's going to talk about fatherhood, but the whole time he was talking over her, being so rude, and then, you know, talking about prostitutes and how a woman needs to have room to complete him. And he talked about later on how he's single, and I'm like, this man is not single at all, but he definitely is acting like he's single, going to visit a lady in New York who, you know, I don't want to say too much, but I know that she's running the women's Bible study now, and I feel like regardless if you guys did anything or not, you still shouldn't be having a man come stay at your house. Like, that's not, I don't know, but he's very much so acting like he's single, but he's very much so not single. I mean, guys, the day I stopped talking to him was May 17th, so it has not been that long. It's been a little over a month, but for somebody who accused me of cheating all the time, he moved on awfully fast. And also, I want to point out that he was sending a girl money also. He could barely send me anything, but he was sending a girl money. And the only reason I found out is because I had access to the emails, and the GoFundMe was up there. And I brought it up to him one day, and I was out to eat with a friend, a girlfriend of mine, and I came back and I asked him about it. This girl actually came to his house. He said she didn't come inside, but she came here, and I borrowed her some money because she really needed it. And I told him, that makes me so uncomfortable. I don't like that. Please don't do that again. And then I tried to move on. Of course, if it would have been the other way around, oh gosh. Oh my goodness. It would have been so bad if I ever did that. Ever. Oh my goodness. But I kind of was just like, you know what? It's not worth fighting about. If you say you're not going to do it again, okay. Tell me why later on that same exact night he went and sent that girl more money. And then when I was giving him the ministry phone back, I turned it on because I wanted to get some phone numbers out of it. I seen he once again sent her money. I don't know how many times he's done it, but I'm like, you can't even give your own wife or your children money, but you want to send some random girl some money. And I feel bad for this girl because she's in a very vulnerable state. And I can tell you that he's most definitely grooming her. You know, I got that vibe right away. But, you know, he tried to tell me, oh, I won't do it again. Oh, I can tell you if I did that. Oh, gosh. And that's the thing. I'm like, the audacity to accuse me of constantly cheating on you when you're doing stuff like this. I mean, if I ever did that, oh, my gosh, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. But that's the thing. I would point out these double standards to him all the time. And, of course, it would be talking in circles. And I would be like, you're missing my point. You don't get it. Well, what's your point? Then I would explain it again. And then I'd be like, you don't get it. I'm done with this conversation. What's your point? You don't get it. And it would just keep going. And he purposely did that because he didn't want to take accountability. He wanted me to get so worked up and trying to defend myself and what I think and what I know that I wouldn't focus at the task at hand. And that's what he was trying to do. Manipulate me, gaslight me. But it would be like, I'm telling you my point that this is a double standard. I would be like, look, I don't even care to have men on my Facebook. But the fact that you're allowed to have girls and I can't even have a pastor on mine is real messed up, you know? Like, I mean, I remember just being in bed one night and I was just so angry, honestly. And I was praying, like, God, please calm me down. Please be with me because right now I'm just so angry. Like, he has all these girls from Teen Challenge. I wasn't allowed to even have people like brothers in Christ from Teen Challenge. It's a Christian program, right? Obviously, not everybody who goes through it comes to know the Lord and whatever, but it would be like people that I've been friends with, just friends with. I was not allowed to have them. And I would see girls, because she'd always tell me, well, it's just people from the ministry. Everybody that's on my page is from the ministry. No, there's girls that you've been friends with for years on here that are from Teen Challenge. I didn't really care that he was friends with them. Let's get that straight. I didn't care that he was friends with them. I really didn't. But why is it okay for you and not okay for me? That's what I would get angry about. That's what I would constantly get angry about, and it would be all the time. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, one thing he always did too, like after we got married, is he would always tell me, like, things, like, for example, he loved when I wore my hair down, but anybody who knows me should know by now that I barely ever wear my hair down. Like, I just really don't wear it down very often, but I wore it down one day at work, and I called him at work, and he literally flipped out on me, and then he had the audacity later on to say that he was not mad at all. That he was not mad, but I knew that he was definitely mad, and he told me that he thought that I had all these things, if I didn't have all these things, he went to marry me. He thought that I already had these abilities when he married me, but was saying that things were common sense. Like, if I don't wear my hair down around him, I shouldn't wear it around any men. And he was like, you're probably flirting with people at your work and wearing it down to impress them and bringing them lunch every day. And I was like, are you serious right now? Because I'm wearing my hair down? Like, I just want to wear my hair down. Like, that's okay. But he literally would tell me that these things were common sense things. He would tell me that over and over about things that I should understand them. They're common sense things. They're not that hard to get. And honestly, I know he was doing that to make me question, like, is this really normal? Am I just going crazy, you know? And he would do things like that to me all the time. And, you know, here's one thing that was a huge red flag for me too. When I was working, he would literally make me call him on every single break that we had. I would have to call him, and if I didn't call him, he would literally get pissed at me. But it was like, I didn't like to call him because sometimes we would get in arguments, like about my hair being down, right? My hair being down, and and we would get into fights about that, and I was just like, I don't want to call you when I'm at work. You know, if I'm at work, like, I don't, like, I can wear my hair down if I want to. I shouldn't have to call you every time. This is why I don't want to call you, because whenever I call you, we end up in an argument. Then I have to go back to work and try to be in a good mood and pretend like nothing is going on, you know? Like, it's just fine and dandy. And Sylvia, if you don't have anything nice to say, you really don't have to be here, to be honest with you. I don't care what you say. You know what? You're right. I shouldn't have got married to him. I really shouldn't have. That's just the truth. I shouldn't have got married to this man. I thought that I knew him better than I did, and I trusted that he really loved me and wanted what's best for me, but it's very clear that he did not have any good intentions, and I don't care. This is your brother. I'm not talking bad about him. I'm simply telling the truth. So if you have a problem with that, well, that's your problem to deal with. But honestly, God is not going to honor somebody who knows the truth and is just sitting there encouraging it and not doing anything about it. Plain and simple, God is not going to honor that. He does not like that. And this is very godly. Actually, Sylvia, let me read you something really quick. So, in Ephesians 5:11, take no part in the worthless deeds of evil and darkness. Instead, expose them. It is shameful even to talk about the things that ungodly people do in secret. But their evil intentions will be exposed when the light shines on them. For the light makes everything visible. So, if you're trying to tell me that I shouldn't be telling people the truth, then I don't know. Then you want to go against God's word, because God clearly says to expose people when they're being false. And let's all be honest, we know your dad's story is not true. If it is, then why don't we see anything from the hospital? Why doesn't nobody in your family know about him being killed? Why was he not even in Chicago during this time? Why did none of his children know about it? Why don't you know about it? Where are his gunshot wounds? So, there's nothing wrong with me talking about somebody who's lying on God. You're lying on God, and you're using God for money and fame. And there's nothing wrong with me exposing the fact that you are taking people's money that they donate to the ministry and spending it on weed and cigarettes and things that you shouldn't be. So, I'm just being honest. If you're really following Christ, then you should be exposing the things that are true. And I know that's your brother. So, why do I care? Because it affects me and it affects my life. And I'm watching God's children fall because of him. Because he's lying. Because he's lying to the whole world about his testimony. I'm watching God's children get hurt. That's why I care. I was married to this man. This most definitely affects me. You would be doing the same thing, Sylvia, if something like this happened to you. You best believe you would be doing the same thing. You'd be finding out answers. You'd be finding out the truth. And you would be talking about it. You know what? God told me to do this. So honestly, I'm not answering your questions anymore. I don't need to. The only person I need to answer to is the Lord. That's all. I don't need to answer to you. So if you don't want to literally hear what the Lord is asking me to do, then don't be on here at all. Oh yeah, I was not allowed to talk about my children either. Whenever I would talk about my children, guys, he has no empathy. All his empathy is fake. It's completely fake. He doesn't care about anybody but himself. And anytime I would bring up my children, he would literally get off the phone and, oh, Dominic should take care of his own children, honey. Trust me. And I am taking care of my children, so I don't care what you have to say. Yes, I don't have custody of them, but you best believe I'm getting it back. And I know I've made mistakes, but anyway, I couldn't bring up my children, I couldn't bring up anything with my family or my children without him, literally being like, oh, you have problems. You've had problems since before we were together. And obviously you're not going to be able to focus on the ministry if you're so focused on your children, you're not going to be able to focus on the ministry. And so I'm just going to leave you until you can figure this out. And I'm just going to get off the phone so you can deal with this. No, the reason why is because he had no empathy and he didn't care about anything that I had going on in my life. Anytime I brought up anything that I was going through, I was better off to not even bring it up, because anytime I brought it to him, I would just feel even more sad. Like, honestly, he would just make me feel even more sad anytime I brought anything to him that I was going through. So I just was like, meh, I'm just not even going to bring it up to him anymore. So then I just stopped talking about it, and obviously that made things worse. So when it did come out, it was really bad. And I don't really care what people say, because I know what the truth is, and God is asking me to expose this. So if other people want to be mad, they shouldn't be mad at anybody but the person doing this, to be honest. If they weren't doing anything wrong, there'd be no reason for me to have to expose anybody. Trust me. You think I wanted to do this? Oh, I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash. I know there's going to be a lot of things said about me. You trust and believe. But if you really know the Lord and you know something is not real, then you should be exposing it as a Christian. That's what you're supposed to do. You know what? There's things in my life, and honestly, I've already told y'all, I don't have custody of my children. I am working on it. You know what? I haven't always been the best mom. I can admit that. I've done a lot of mistakes, made a lot of mistakes. But you know what? I'm getting closer to God than I've ever been during this time, and I'm really focusing and relying on Him for everything, guys. Like, everything. And He is so good. Like, He's done so much for me in these past couple of weeks, and I feel like now that I'm not with this person, He can finally give me the blessings that He's been wanting to give me. But He couldn't give them to me when I was with this person, because it would have destroyed them. I wouldn't have been able to accept them and have them without something bad happening. So God, waited for me till the right time, and See, you think that I wanted to do this? Trust me, people can tell me that I definitely didn't want to tell my side of the story because I already know. Look, I already got people watching me. You think that I didn't know that people were going to come on here and go tell him? Oh, trust me, there's going to be a lot of people that do that. And I guarantee you, the first thing he's probably going to say about me is, oh, she doesn't have her children. And, oh, she's a slut and a hoe. And that's what he's been telling me the whole time we were together. And I ain't even been doing nothing, you know. I do have a promiscuous past. I'm not even going to lie to you about that, you guys. I'm not even going to lie for 1 second. Yes, I have. But he definitely did not save me off the street of prostitution. If I was such a slut and a hoe, why did this man marry me then? You know, he's just saying that because he's angry. He has no other defense. I'm sure he'll make up other lies about me. But here's the thing. All the things that I'm saying, like, it's just my side of the story. But unless we actually see proof, I'm not going to believe a thing he says. Whether you guys believe it or not is completely up to you. You know, but like I said, he has no gunshot wounds. He has no, he wasn't in Chicago at that time. I can confirm it with multiple people. People in his apartment don't even know what happened. He doesn't have any record of it. He has no pictures of it. He has no hospital records from it at all. So, let's see. Oh yeah, that's another thing too. Like, there would be people that, literally would message me, and sometimes it was people like in the ministry, and I was really only allowed to like talk to men, like I said, like on the phone for the ministry, and that was it, the ministry number. But he would literally get mad when people from the ministry, there would be men that would message me and just literally send me a prayer or, you know, prophesy something over me, or, you know, say something godly, or even ask like, hey, I'm just messaging you because I had an appointment at this time and Dominic didn't show up. And, you know, okay, I don't care. But anyway, like, you know, people would message me, like, men, and they'd be like, I had an appointment with him, he didn't show up, blah, 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 and, I'm just messaging you because he didn't respond to me. And I would, like, show Dominic, of course, because if I didn't show him, he would accuse me of cheating, of course. But, you know, I wasn't really allowed to, like, respond to these people, so I'd always feel bad. And then he would make me block them a lot of times. Like, I would literally have to block these people. I'm like, they're literally just praying for me and prophesying over me. There's nothing more going on. Like, he's obviously so insecure that he can't deal with it. And also, I want to point out, guys, I think I've only told, like, 1 or 2 people this ever, but I was not allowed to shave my legs, guys. I didn't shave my legs for, I don't know, like 6 months or something. I was not allowed to do my eyebrows. I was not allowed to shave my armpits or my legs at all. He wanted me to wear a hair wrap, and I did for like a little bit, you know, and then I was eventually like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't feel like God is calling me to do this. I feel like if the Lord had a problem with it, he would convict me directly, right? And I would tell him that, and then he would tell me that I'm not following the will of God, and I obviously care way more about what people think than what God thinks, and you know, just stuff like that, and like would try to, you know, so that's around the time that I left him. So then I stopped wearing hair wraps because I think he figured, well, she's not going to be with me if I'm going to force her to do this. But yeah, I was not allowed to shave my legs, shave my armpits. I was not allowed to wear nail polish. I was not allowed to wear makeup. Granted, a lot of these things I don't really care that much about in the first place, but it was still like I couldn't do it even if I wanted to. I literally couldn't wear anything. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but he always had super nice clothes on. I obviously didn't, because I felt like any of the stuff that I would want to wear, and it wasn't even revealing, but to him, even this probably would not be okay, because it's, even though it's not showing cleavage, it's got a lot of my chest, right? Like, this is something I would not be able to wear probably around him. So a lot of the shirts I would wear would be long sleeve, and they would be kind of up to this and all the way down my arms, and that would be you know, the type of clothing I would have to wear. And I would always wear like sweatpants and stuff, because I, felt like anything when we first got together and stuff. Like, when we first got together, he would kind of let me wear what I want, but of course that was just to reel me in. Not that I wore anything super provocative or revealing or anything, but it was like normal clothes that people wear, you know what I mean, like Christians can wear. He didn't care, but it was like all of a sudden we got married and all these things just suddenly changed, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, like this is insane. It would be like I felt like I couldn't wear like anything, so I'd always wear the same clothes because I knew they were safe clothes. um There's nothing but there is feelings. Of course there is. If you really love somebody, there's feelings. I could tell that there's no feelings on his end because he was never genuine, but I can tell you that if you really love somebody, of course there's going to be feelings, but I'm not doing this out of feelings. Trust me, if I want to do it out of feelings, I would have done this weeks ago. I'm doing this because the Lord has asked me to, and I feel that there's millions and millions of people being led astray, and this is one of the ways to let them know that his story is completely false, Sylvia, and you also know that his story is false, so I don't know why you're endorsing it or encouraging him when you know the truth, Sylvia, because that's not godly. I'm not going to judge your walk. I'm just going to pray for you. Obviously, I know that's your brother, so it's probably really hard to accept, but of course there's feelings. Yes, I loved the man, you know, I really did, and of course there's going to be feelings, but that's not why I'm doing this at all. In fact, if anything, because there was feelings, I was trying to protect him for a long time because I cared about him so much. So this is saying a lot, the fact that I'm no longer caring about what he's going to do or being threatened by him, because I guarantee you he's probably thinking up all types of plans to try to hurt me and try to get back at me, and it is what it is, you know. I'm not going to trip about it anymore because it's in God's hands, not mine. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I pretty much went through, honestly, like everything that I'm sure there's more that I have to say. I know there is for sure. There's a lot more that I have to say, but I just want to let everybody know the truth, and I hope people share this video because lots of people need to see the truth, and I know that a lot of people are definitely going to be gossiping about me, saying things about me and how I don't have my children or how I'm this and how I'm that and I'm a liar. I already know that Dominic is so manipulative that he is going to try to lie and say that 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 I'm lying about him. I'm just mad because we're getting divorced and all that. No, honestly, if it was just the way that he treated me, I probably could have allowed it to just fizzle out, whatever, and not do anything about it. But the fact is he's leading so many people astray. There's people that are brand new to Christianity, and guess what? They're not going to get the truth from him. They're not going to be able to follow God the way that he intends them to if they're following him, because he's not really teaching. You know what? Have you ever noticed that he says the same things over and over and over? Has anybody else noticed that? Because I definitely have. And that's because he's not really reading the word like he should be. And he's not really spending the time with God. Like, I guarantee you, by the way, I know the new challenge that he's doing, you know. And I can guarantee you, in the past when he said he's fasting, he definitely wasn't. So I can guarantee that he's not actually following through on his fast. And so it's just like, oh, I definitely am, you know, I feel that people need to know the truth, and you're just never going to get it from him. He will never tell you the truth. It's never going to come out of his mouth. He's never going to admit it. But here's the thing. If you have no problem going on all these platforms, then you should easily have no problem showing the proof. So even if you see some type of doctor's note or something, I wouldn't be surprised if he got it from his surgery or everything. So let's, you know, try to get the one where he clinically was dead for 3 minutes and 47 seconds and the actual date on it from 2009, like he claims. And the thing is, it's simply not there, and everybody in his family and everybody knows the truth. I know some people are having a hard time accepting that, but that's really why I'm on here, is to tell the truth, because nobody should lie on God the way that he is, and nobody should be being deceived the way that they are. Like, that's why I felt the need to say this, because God told me himself to expose this, and trust me, I've spent weeks praying. You know, I've thought about doing a lot of things before this, and I didn't. You know, I waited for God to give me the permission to do it, and now I know that He's gave me the permission, and so I'm doing it. And the reason that I'm doing it is because I want people to know that they're being completely led astray, that He is not living it, that he smokes weed all day, he's spending money on that. Look, he's hooking up with other girls, he's going to girls' houses in other states to go stay with them. I mean, he treats me like crap. He treats people in his personal life like crap, cussing them out, swearing at them, all types of things. So, and, you know, I originally believed his story. I really did. You know, like I said, the little mark on his stomach, I was like, well, maybe he had surgery from the bullets and that's why. But, you know, I truly did believe it. How would I know? I've only known him for like 3 years. So how would I know whether this story is true or not? So I just simply believed his story because he's so good at, you know, he's so good at his words. So it was very believable for me to be like, oh yeah, you know, he's so convincing. So of course, you know, I had no problem getting his story out there because I thought it was legitimate. But now that I know that it's not, that's also why I feel a sense of me needing to say something, because I'm also the reason that he's even out here on these platforms. Yes, he does all the work and does all the talking, but I was the one who initially set it up. And yes, I did help him write his book, you know, also because I believed his story. I thought that it was really true, and I thought, oh my gosh, if this is leading people to God, then other people need to hear it. Here's the thing, God is still using Dominic, whether he realizes it or not. People are still getting saved due to his testimony, even though it's built on complete lies. People are still getting saved from it, and so, you know, that's really great. But the unfortunate part is it's not true. So that's what I've also had a hard time with. I'm like, well, there's a lot of people in the body that are coming to Christ and being saved because of it, but then it's like, but it's not true, and that's not how it should be. Nobody should lie on God. If you have the fear of God, you wouldn't do the things you're doing, and you would definitely not be lying about your testimony. Actually, every person who has helped write this book, they want no parts. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to say too much, because I feel like I want to respect other people's privacy, but they don't believe it, and they don't want any parts of it. Everybody who's helped in it. So that's including myself. You know, I even wrote his afterword. Guess what? My name is forever in that book, and it disgusts me, honestly. And, you know, if he would have just treated me bad, I could have dealt with that. But it's the fact that he's lying to so many people. And so I've just been praying a lot, you know, God, please reveal this to the people, because they need to see. And that's really why I'm coming on here. You know, I'm not coming on here to bash him. This is not gossiping, because God, I'm telling and exposing the truth. You know, gossip is like lies or talking about somebody to just spread drama and to spread things around and to talk about them. This is being exposed. There's a complete difference. You know, I can tell you that God had led me to do this and to make this decision. God would not allow me to do this if it was gossiping, because he does not honor gossip. There's a clear difference between me talking about my truth and what really happened and gossip. So if you want to say this is people gossiping about you or him or whatever, that's fine. I'm just speaking my truth. And the real reason is, like I said, because people are being led astray. So I'm probably going to end this video now. I've never went live before, so I'm you know, expecting a lot of backlash. I already know there's already people on here who are going to go be his little flying monkeys, as they call them, and we already knew that. I already knew that coming into this, but I said, Lord, I don't want to do this. You know, I don't want people to come back at me. I'm going through a lot already, but I said, you know what, Lord, if this is what you want, then you're going to protect me, and you're going to protect my name, and you're going to give me the strength to be able to tell my story and to tell what really happened. And I hope people share this video to other people, especially people who are still in the ministry. Of course, people are going to go back and tell Dominic, but they're going to go back and tell him, and I'm sure he's going to say things about me, but anybody who really knows me knows the truth. I'm a very open book. If you ask me things, I'm very open about things, you know, and I'm not going to try to like lie or impress anybody. I have no reason to, but you know, I probably won't speak a whole lot on the things that he's done to me other than this, but I will just speak on the truth of his story not being legitimate. And that he treats people very badly. And if you really get close to him, you're going to get burned very badly. And honestly, this has affected so many people. Like, that's the sad part, because there's been so many people that have already left the ministry. And, now it's hard for people to trust. You don't want to, I know you can't trust in men. You're not supposed to trust in men, but it's like now, you go to any church or hear any pastor or somebody on YouTube, and it's constantly in the back of your mind, like, can I trust this person? Is this person legitimate? Yes, you're supposed to test every spirit, but it's a little bit hard when you don't know somebody in person and you're, like, getting to know them. So it makes it very difficult, because then there's this thing where you're like, I know a lot of people are feeling the same way I am, where you're like, I don't know if I can, like, trust this person. And, yeah, if they're telling the truth, and you just have to, like, go off what they say and then try to bring it to scripture and read about it. And that's the thing about Dominic. He has all the right things to say, and he knows exactly what to say. That's the difference. He knows it. He has all the right wording. Like he always talks about, intellectual parrots. That's exactly what he is. He hears things and he reads things, and then he takes it and says it, but he's not living it at all. I can tell you that I don't have a perfect life either, by any means. I've done a lot of things wrong, and even as a Christian, there's things that I'm not proud of. But I can say that about anybody. But I can tell you that I would never, ever, ever, ever lie on God. Ever lie on God about dying and going to hell and coming back. If that really happened to, you wouldn't treat people the way that you do. You wouldn't treat people like garbage. You wouldn't chew people out. You wouldn't be lying to people constantly. You wouldn't do those things. You would have the fear of God in you. So, anyway, I'm going to pray us out. If anybody wants to call me or anything after this, feel free, because I'm definitely going to be, just chilling and living my life and getting my life back together now that all this happened. And so, Lord, I just thank you so much, Lord, and I really just pray for the people whose eyes are still blind, Lord, and that can't see you, God, and just don't know, the truth, or don't know what to believe. They hear all this, and it's just hearsay, them and him, and them and him, and they don't know, what to believe, Lord. So I pray that you just confirm in their spirit what the truth is, God. Just really reveal to them, like you did to me, the absolute truth, God. And that there's no denying that that is the truth, Lord. And I just pray that people can really see and have the discernment to see him for who he really is, God. And get out of the ministry before they get scorned really bad, God. Or, before they get hurt by him. I pray against any of the women that he's probably going to see, because it's only a matter of time before he starts to do the same thing and they end up as a victim, God. So I just pray that you protect them as well, God, and allow them to have discernment to know that this is somebody they should not mess with, and not be around, God. And I just really pray for anybody, that's having a hard time, that feels a sense of wanting to protect him and, wanting to protect his reputation and wanting to protect him, whether it's family or friends, or even lie on him, God. I just lie for him, God. I just pray for those people, God, that you really open their eyes and allow them to really hear from you, God, because if they were really hearing from the Holy Spirit and hearing from you, that they would know that the truth needs to come out and it needs to be said. And so I just pray that you really reveal to them that, it's not godly to sit here. It doesn't matter who it is, God. It doesn't matter if it's your own child. It doesn't matter who it is. If somebody is lying on God, the truth needs to come out. So I just pray that you give them the strength to realize that that they need to speak out their truth as well, God. And I just pray for protection over myself, especially for this, God. I pray that any attacks from the enemy, I just put up all the spiritual armor of God, and I just put up my shield of faith, God, that any arrows that try to come my way, God, that they're just completely bounced off of me, that they would just be completely, literally just, like, they're not even hitting me, they're not even affecting me. And so I just pray, for my protection over my house, for my car, for myself, Lord, that you just watch over me and protect my children and everybody else in this ministry who has been associated with this. I pray that you protect them, protect their reputations, and just watch over them and don't allow anything to happen, God. And I just thank you so much for this chance to be able to talk to the people and tell them the truth, God. And so I pray that you just let it penetrate to their hearts and really think about it, and that they speak to you. They don't believe what I said, God, but they really speak to you and read the word, and that you confirm to them what the truth is, Lord. And just thank you so much, God. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen, amen, amen. All right, guys, I'm finally getting off, and I'm kind of, know what to expect, but you know what? I did what the God is asking me, and I trust him to protect me. By the way, I don't have a restraining order, but I'm definitely going to get one, because I can almost guarantee you that, something is going to happen, and we're all going to know, So, not to me, I'm just saying to, like, my property or anything like that, So, I won't be surprised, and I'm kind of expecting it. But anyway, thank you guys for all being here and supporting me. I love you all, and I'll talk to you later.